Welcome back to the UK Makers Podcast, episode 7. I'm James.
I'm Rosie.
And I'm Matt.
And tonight we have a very special guest. Our first guest, celebrating episode 7, we have presenting Gareth Eccles from Pippi's Woodforge. Gareth, hello.
Hello.
God, that was a sexy hello. Do it again. Do it again.
Hello.
It's like the Cadbury Flake Bunny.
It is, just a little bit.
Smooth.
I should have worn something just a bit more revealing, shouldn't I, rather than a jumper?
Bit of cleavage.
Is that your jumper?
I could have given you that. It would have been like a Wookiee's cleavage, though.
Okay.
Chewy.
Well, it is the next episode. Our first guest, Gareth from Pippi's Woodforge. Tell us a bit about yourself. Whereabouts are you in the world? In the UK, I do hope.
Yeah, currently just outside of sort of Stirling in Scotland at the moment. We moved from Kent last year, September.
Really?
I think it was. So we're currently absolutely zero workshop, which does mean that I end up having to pursue other avenues to keep myself busy rather than actually fettling around with wood and wanking it off in the workshop.
Oh dear. Now just a local Sainsbury's. That'll have to do. Local Sainsbury's. No, it's good. Right, okay, so tell us a little bit about yourself. We're going to do an Instagram deep dive a bit later on. Your Instagram is Pippi's Woodforge. Your name's Gareth. What's it all about? Why is it Pippi's Woodforge? Let's start off with that.
Yeah, because when I started, because I had a normal Instagram account, which is just sort of full of mates and stuff like that. And then it was actually pretty much I think it was just before lockdown and that. And I thought, I'll just create another account and focus just purely on wood. And then what I was doing was I had a load of Pippi oak. And I thought, I'm just going to make some charcuterie boards and stuff like that. Started inlaying them with brass, polishing them up, making those. So I decided that it was just going to be called like Pippi boards.
Okay.
And then I got sick of making charcuterie boards and stuff like that and kept branching out into different areas like making marking knives or making bow sanders or making bows, arrows, crossbows. And then I just thought, well, I'm not making boards anymore, am I? So I may as well just change the name. And then I didn't want it to be like Gareth's Garage or Gareth's Wood Shop and stuff like that. And I just thought, what do? I actually smash wood together precisely. That's pretty much what I do.
That's what I'm also known as. Wanking Nines. That works very well. That's,
So hang on, what boards were you calling them? Sorry, just for my own understanding, because I've not heard of that before.
Pippi oak.
Charcuterie boards.
Charcuterie boards?
Yeah.
Yeah, explain.
Well, you work in the world of metal, don't you, mate? Serving boards.
Yeah, like you put cheese on or you put like a slab of meat on.
Yeah.
It's a board where you lay your meat on it.
He's obviously not been to a fancy restaurant or that, eh?
You flop the meat on it. And you serve it out.
And it looks fancy.
Yeah, I mean, if you're using cheeses, those ones that kind of melt a little bit and drip.
Oh.
That sort of stuff.
Melted cheese.
Melted cheese on your board. No, that's good. No, they're very beautiful.
With your slab of meat.
We are 4 minutes into the episode, and it's Matt's fault. I will apologise on everyone's behalf for last week's, on Matt's behalf for his immaturity. We were answering your questions. I can only apologise on behalf of the UK Makers Podcast, and thank you for sending in your questions. We thoroughly enjoyed the episode, and then Matt came along, and we shall move on.
I'd like to reassure our listeners that disciplinary action has been taken. I have had a stern talking to from our founder members. And I understand that I do have a problem, and I shall be seeking professional help and therapy for said issues.
Very good. You know what? It's great for me. I am delighted as a man who really enjoys the world of other people's wood, that we can kind of invite somebody else in to share stories about our wood together. Gareth, it is nice. I'm gonna, don't take this the wrong way, you do some really nice kind of arty-farty things, and I would say my personal favourite is the Millennium Falcon that you made.
Oh God, that was a pain in the ass. That was an absolute pain in the ass.
Can you explain?
It was
what if they don't know what a Millennium Falcon is, then just stop it. But
if they don't know what the Millennium Falcon is, they need the head felt.
I agree, but can you explain what you did to make the Millennium Falcon and the scale and why and how?
I can't remember. I just wanted to do something a bit different. Still along kind of the serving board thing, but there was a technique that I saw years and years ago and adapted it to make laminated curved feet for boards. And I still had the jig, and I just thought, well, I reckon I can make the Millennium Falcon. So I just found a picture online, gridded it up, transferred it to a bit of ply, cut the template out. And then, you know, when you start and you think, well, I'll just have it plain, but I'm going to put the feet on it. Yeah. And then I thought, well, I've got the powders and everything for the resin, so I could kind of do like the lighting at the back for the drive. And I thought, but if I'm going to do that, I may as well add more detail then. And I may as well just like cut these pieces out and cut that piece out and inlay that and then inlay that. But before I even got to that stage, I'd already made one. I'd got to the stage where it was templated out and it was cut and the oak, and then I had to go in for tea. Came back the next morning and it was absolutely cut.
Really?
So then I had to redo it again. And then it only cupped ever so slightly, so I managed to flatten it out. But yeah, it took absolutely ages. And then when I was routing, and you know when you're going through a process, and you think, I know that something's going to go wrong here, and you kind of get the first part right, and you're like, yeah, confidence is high. I'm smashing this. And as I pulled the router over for the second pass, it just took a massive chunk out of one side, and I was cursing it. So then I had to kind of peg that back up and fill that back in and make sure that was sound before filling it out. And then I ended up sending it to Georgia in the US to a friend of mine, Kristen. So it got out of my sight and all the way to the US, and I never have to look at that painful memory ever again.
Yeah, I think we've all had projects like that, haven't we? Where you're just glad to see them go. But yeah, it's pretty impressive, though. I mean, you know, it did look really, really good. I mean, I did a bit of an Instagram stalking, and no, it looked really good. No.
Yeah, the most painful part about that was it's kind of like, you know, like you guys with fly cutters.
Oh, yeah.
And they're similar with wood. You know, you have a single arm on the cutting end on there, because I didn't have any hole saws or anything like that would cut that amount of material out and in the way that I wanted it. And this bloody thing was so unbalanced in the drill press. And you know, when you like, when you tentatively kind of lean your arm over and push the start button, and it just winds its way up, and somehow you've got this piece of wood underneath, you've got all your safety kit, and you're pulling the arm down at the same time. You think something's going to go seriously wrong. And not only did it smoke, but I did that thing where you think your arm is just far enough away, and then it gave me a nice little love tap on the knuckle just to know, just to let me know I wasn't far enough away from it. It was actual spinning wheel of death. I hated using it.
Yeah.
Beautiful, but it was beautiful, mate. Genuinely.
It was all good. And I worry, because I want to do a gaffy stick. I think we talked about this. We've all talked about doing some sort of Star Wars theme. And for me, a gaffy stick is quite good because there's a bit of wood turn in there, there's a bit of metal working, there's a bit of welding. And, you know, you can make something. I don't want to fuck around with PVC pipe. You know, everyone makes everything out of fucking pipe, especially fucking Yanks. We'll do it out of pipe and do it this way. No, I want to do a proper job. But then you kind of think, I overthink it. It's got to be like really accurate and really smart, and I need all these fancy jigs, and it kind of puts me off. So fair play to you for, and it looks. We'll share some pictures on our Instagram. What always gets it for me, as soon as you see it, it's an iconic image of the Millennium Falcon, and it looks like the Millennium Falcon, so it's instantly recognisable. So.
Yeah, that's the profile, isn't it? The shape of the Falcon is always. But the Gaffi stick, I remember seeing somebody recently making one of those as well.
Boba Fett.
Yeah. That's the thing though with Star Wars, because I like the. I thought it'd be nice to play around with LEDs and dick around the. What's it called? Darksaber.
Oh,
Darksaber. Yeah. But then, hi, I'm Bob, and I like to make everything. Made it. And it's kind of like I feel like I'm copying. Like I couldn't share it. That's the problem with Instagram stuff. If you put something on that
I don't know. You see, there's loads of guys that I saw like when it comes to making lightsaber hilts, handles, and you see some like the kind of lower end. The effort is phenomenal that people put into like prop making, but then there's like the high end machined side of it, and it's all the detail that you see on outside is amazing. But then there are people, because I was looking at it and I was like, well, you can't just have that. You have to have the kyber crystal in it as well.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And then you have to have the chamber, and then you see these people who've made these things, but they're all just hidden away in this cylinder of metal, so you never see that detail. But it's all there.
It's the knowing it's there. I mean, one thing I've always wanted, and I know this is for everyone else, I know Rosie's not into Star Wars at all.
I'm sorry.
But for me, I've always wanted to make R2-D2. And everyone's like, you could just make, get a router and you just make the plywood rings and then you put a plywood skin around it that's been thingied down the back. And I'm like, if I was going to do it, it'd have to be out of solid aluminium.
Yeah. And,
it would have to be all of it. The gears, everything inside would all have to be aluminium, exactly how like the Astromech company would make it. And then even when you think...
Sorry, mate. That Bob from Alex, I think he's been working on one forever, hasn't he? And it is amazing.
But he's absolutely edges. Yeah.
Sorry, mate. Go on, mate.
Yeah. No, it's all right. I know the Bob's version of it is all 3D printed. But I say all 3D printed. There is quite a fair bit of metalwork in there that's actually like structural. But for me, I'd have to do it all out of aluminium. And then I thought, because I followed Smuggler's Room. Smuggler's Room. I don't know if you guys follow him at all, but he's made I think might be half size or quarter size droid, a miniaturized version. And then of course I was looking at the other Astromechs that were supposedly made. I'm thinking, I could make a mini one of those. And I'll make it. If you can't afford the aluminium, which would be in my case, then make the project smaller so that you can.
Yeah.
So that would be my...
I think the trouble is with prop replica stuff like that is that when they make them, they've made them kind of relatively on the cheap and kit bashed. And you see them in the film and it looks exactly as it should do. And then you look at R2-D2 and you're like, oh yeah, look at that. And that's like anodized aluminium there. I mean, how else did they get that blue? And you just know that there's no way that they spent ages fannying around with anodized aluminium and like beating it up and stuff like that. No. But when you see it on screen and what you want to make, you kind of expectations rise above that just whole kit bashing element, and you want to make it exactly.
Yeah.
No, I mean I've got.
You need to get into woodworking.
I'd love to, but I genuinely every time I've got into woodworking. Ignoring the incident with the angle grinder I had going back a few months, but every time, like all of the woodworking tools I've ever tried to use, power tools specifically, they've all tried to kill me in weird and wondrous ways, and I've got to that point where I like the job to be bolted down to a table and the cutter spinning, and I can be at a given distance away from it.
I mean, I think like power tools wise, I've had a couple of Forstner cuts, right? One of them was really good. That spat blood like in a really thin line up and down the wall.
The red mist.
But one of the ones that really shit me up was when I was wood turning years ago, and on the tip of the part, like what you'd call a kind of parting tool, and it was just resting, and I was just feeding it in slowly, and it must have been this perfect coincidence of where the tip of it was just underneath, and a knot just came round, grabbed the tip, but because of the leverage on the post, it snapped the tip, spun it round, hit the wall, and then threw it straight back at my chest at God knows how many RPM. And you know when you start checking yourself for a hole to see if you're bleeding, and you're just like, that was so lucky. Spinning, just flying pieces of metal. Oh, that and the piece of metal that I got in my eye, that was probably a good one as well.
It's horrific.
That is horrific.
That is horrific.
It's all right.
Yeah, he's all right now. He's only got one finger. You know, he's only got one for everyone else.
Although, actually, I'll tell you another one that was good was when Andy from the Glue Box was round at mine when I was down in Kent. And I was like, don't worry, I'll show you how to use the Tormek. And I was sharpening up his chisel. And for a moment, I just turned round and let go of the guide, and it flopped down. And simultaneously moved my hand over, and it stabbed me all the way in the palm. And then you instantly pull your hand back out of the chisel. And the Tormek was stopped, and I was like, "Oh God, there's loads of blood just building up here." I'm just like, "Don't worry, Andy. I'm just going to go to the house." But I'd taken 2 steps out of the workshop, and the whole of my palm was filled. I was cupping blood all the way in my palm and flicking it off as I was going down the garden. But we were trying to sell the house at the same time, so I couldn't get blood all over the floor and all over the handles or anything like that. So to wench it open with one elbow, keep cupping my hand, get to the sink, started washing it out. And you know when you wash it out and you can see the fat kind of sticking out of your hand as well?
Oh, yeah.
And it was just like, oh, yeah, that's going to be a really tasty one. And I just pushed it a bit, and I was like, oh, yeah, that hurts a bit. And I thought, I'll just clean it up, try and get it put together again, you know, under my own steam, it'll be fine. And while I'm doing that, I'm thinking, Andy used to be a paramedic. Where is he? And Andy was in the workshop cleaning the blood off his chisels, making sure that they were okay, and making sure that they were put away.
Yeah. Didn't he do a podcast? Or he did do a podcast?
Yeah, they used to do one, yeah. Yeah,
I think I used to listen to that. Sure he did.
The Crosscut.
Yeah, that's the one. That is the one. I listened to that in a while, actually. Yeah. So we have lined up some questions for you, Gareth, some makery style questions, if that's okay. Matt is the man first with his round of questions. And if you don't mind, we're going to shotgun them at you. Matt, fire away, good sir.
Oh, you would. I'm just literally trying to get the thing up with all the questions that I wrote in. Bear with.
Over to you.
I know, right?
No, Matt can go first. You always ask me first.
No, I don't. All right, I'll go first. Right, I tell you what. I was thinking about this earlier, and it's been asked to me before. What was the first thing that you ever made that you were proud of? See, I found this really hard.
Far back we go into my childhood. Actually made probably year 5 using cling film. Yeah, actually made year 5 in Carterton.
And was proud of.
I made a hand glider out of cling film and bamboo sticks and hot glue.
I'm not being
easily the best thing I
hand
ever made of it. Yeah, well, you know, about this big. And it flew as well.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I know. Clever little bastard, wasn't I?
Yeah.
Well, my question was going to be along similar lines, which was what sparked your interest in making?
Oh, I think that's exactly the same place. Just like crafts and stuff like that. I mean, I remember my uncle and my granddad could always kind of draw pretty good. And I remember being like 4 and having a Meccano set, like proper Meccano, metal, wing nuts, bolts, the full gamut, and smashing that together. That's always been it. Although, I didn't really like getting my hands dirty until I was older. But that kind of stuff was okay.
That's fair enough. I can relate to that. Rosie.
Right, who's going next then?
Oh, sorry. Matt, go on.
No, let's go for Rosie. No, I was asking who's going next. Let's go for Rosie. What question?
Come on, Lindy.
Well, I didn't actually sit and think about questions other than when can I move to your house?
Well, if you're really lucky, the wind will blow one of my sheds over, and I'll have to clear stuff out anyway.
Oh, it's been horrible. I got a text from Northern Power earlier saying, you might have no power in a day. Just letting you know. We might fix it, we might not, but charge your phone. Pretty much was the general gist of Northern Power.
I do actually have a question. Gareth,
2 inches.
What's the sort of like?
Is his favourite sugar salt?
What's the time scale of you building a new workshop? When are you thinking about that?
2023/2024. As long as that.
Wow.
There's other things.
It's a long time to go without making.
Yeah, I know. That's why I've got other projects on the go. It's why I've been learning Fusion.
Oh, yeah.
And AI and all sorts of stuff like that, because there's literally, there's only so long that I can spend not doing anything,
That makes sense.
And I don't want, I don't want my partner. Sorry?
Have you got a 3D printer?
No, I bought a drone recently, though.
Oh, yeah.
Unfortunately, I do live in Scotland. So
very windy.
Wind is a bit of a problem.
It's now in Wales.
But it's all right. The weird thing is, we're living here near Stirling. It's like a lot of the weather is like its own microclimate here. So if you go to the top of our lane, you can find snow and ice. But down here, you can find absolutely nothing. It'll just be wet.
That's wild.
Whereas over where Lindy lives, it can be a lot worse.
No, fair enough. So do you live... oh, yeah, I've just got that. Sorry, I've just clicked onto that. Our special guest tonight is Gareth. Nobody else. Where is he?
Oh, there was the glare then. I saw that.
There was a burning in my retinas. Yeah, no, absolutely. Moving on. No, it's good. So, your last place that you were at, Gareth, did you have a large workshop? What was the layout? What do you miss? What's your next goals? What are you going to do better next time?
Well, the workshop that was down in Kent, that was, I say only, but it was 5.4 meters by 3.6. So it was it was quite a decent sized workshop. We just had garden stuff kind of at the back of the wall. And then as my wood collection got bigger and bigger and bigger, that kind of got leant up against the back. So I think this time I would definitely have a veranda. A veranda is definitely one of my requests, so that I can sit. When you're doing nothing, or you pretend that you're doing something, and you walk into the workshop, I can just walk out the other side and sit and look at the views and have a coffee and contemplate what I'm going to do. But hopefully, this new one will be 10 meters by 10 meters. hopefully.
Square. Okay.
Nice.
Is that
I'm moving
a
in.
steel built?
It has. Well, the thing is, it has to be big enough to fit at least 2 canoes in, because I've got to build a canoe. That's been something that's on my mind for years and years and years. I've got to build a canoe, but it can't be too big that it intrudes on the view if my partner sits out the front. Because as you come out the front of our house and you look to the right, you see the mountains in the distance. So my workshop can't encroach in on that. It has to be just out of view, and 10 meters is just there, just on that point. I know.
And Gareth is really lucky because he's surrounded by the Trossachs, the Campsies, and the Ochils, the Ochil Hills.
Don't know what that means.
They're the hills in central Scotland,
Big
basically.
bumps, mate.
Scenery.
Big bumps.
Scenery.
Yeah, scenery.
So what made you move from the land of Kent and being a Kentian to moving up to Jokistan?
Because we had no need to be near London anymore. Thankfully, due to one of the upsides of Corona was that people working from home, it showed that their business people didn't necessarily need to be going into London. So we didn't need to be near London. And we were just like, well, we'll just move somewhere we want to be, and just came up here.
Like Scotland, which is better than England. Because in 3 years' time, Gareth, I think you get free education.
This is true, and I will rape it for everything it's worth. I don't care if it's hairdressing,
exactly, and that's what you should
arrangement. I will be doing it. I will literally spend the rest of my life in education. Jules already has free prescription anyway, but I've never tested it yet. Fortunately, I don't know.
Well, when you find out, let me know.
Disgraceful.
You get free education and free prescriptions up here, James.
I know, and moving house is meant to be a lot easier in Scotland than it is in England, because in England it's absolute shit.
I don't know about that. I don't know. I mean, it's generally done through lawyers in Scotland. So I say generally, it is done through lawyers. So they sort all that side of it out. But the bidding process is a little bit more stressful because, it's kind of closed. You don't, I mean, for instance, our place, we bid on another place and, they were already, I mean, fair enough. The people that were selling it were already up front and they said, oh, we've had fantastic offers. And I thought, I bet you have. And so we didn't get that one. And then this place, we put in a bid anyway, and they said, oh, you haven't got it. And I was like, oh, well, fair enough, then we'll just go looking. And I set up a flight and 3 other places to view. I was going to come up on my own. And they phoned back and said, oh, the person who bid higher than you, their bid has fallen through because they haven't been able to get the money. And they were like, would you like it? And part of me was just like, no, fuck you. Yeah. No, you didn't accept my bid. You went for greed. You were greedy and you didn't get it. But then I thought, well, don't be a dickhead. You like the place. You may as well get it anyway. You may as well do it. So we did. And and then it just kind of flew through. Yeah. But just part
what's
of
your
me
neighbour
like?
What's your neighbours like? Because you're a foreigner. You're a...
Oh, no. Do you know the irony is that all of our neighbours are English.
Yeah.
Really?
All of our neighbours are English.
Oh,
yeah. They spend their mornings at Boots getting their free prescriptions, and then they spend their afternoons at college learning how to draw.
Our neighbour next to us, he's English. His wife's English. Then my partner, Jules, she met someone else walking the dogs, and he was like, "Hello, I'm part of the local group on WhatsApp." And she's like, "Oh, you're English?" And he's like, "Yes, I used to live in a village not far from you." He literally lived in a village that was 10 minutes away from the village we moved from. So it seems like we've all moved up here. Like the locals have all just, it's amazing.
Are you sure you're in Scotland? You know,
Well,
you
I
sure?
don't know.
You're
I think the
Newcastle,
scenery is the only thing that keeps telling me I am.
Everyone's talking in Geordie. All right, Pet.
Well, no.
I used to live right village up from you, like. I felt it, like.
Yeah.
It's like everywhere you go, it's like an episode of Alvida's Pet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely, yeah. Gives a job.
So, what's your next project then, Gareth? What's the next thing, or is the workshop the next thing, or?
Well, I don't know. The thing that I'm keeping kind of biding my time over at the moment is with Fusion, but I've got a project, but I'm trying to keep it kind of local. I've showed you that before, haven't I, Matt? Because we've been discussing it, and Rosie knows about it as well.
I don't.
I've just sent it off. Sorry?
Can we share with the viewers? I don't know what the project is.
No.
Can we?
No, not really. I need to keep it kind of on the down low. But I've already sent it off the 3D and CAD files to a manufacturer who specialises in prototyping, and I'm waiting for them to get back to me to let me know what the unit price, how much that would be for that prototype, and then what it would be per unit.
I'll get that email back to you this week, mate.
So it's a product.
It's a product.
You're working on a product release. So you're releasing your product on people in the market.
Over them, all over them.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
All over them.
Interesting.
Yeah,
all
via
over their
social
face.
media, in their faces, all over them.
Fascinating. That's good.
That's pretty cool. It's nice to see someone getting somewhere with a product. And
We've had plans, haven't we, Rosie? It's been a struggle.
Honestly, I'm just still pissed off about my time in the shed today, to be honest.
Go on, Rosie.
I thought if I had a meal and some cheesecake, I'd feel better, but I don't, so...
Let it out. We've been talking about wood and boring things. You know, Rosie, how's your day been? Let the listeners hear your qualm.
I've literally just said it's been a bit shit.
Yeah. All right. Okay, moving on. Matt, how was your day?
Funny enough. So, as regular listeners will know, I got a pantograph the other week, last week.
Very nice.
Well, yeah, it was workshop night last night. Did you get anything done?
I did and I didn't. I found a problem with the pantograph.
No.
It's not a massive problem, but basically, when you're tracing from one side of, because I'm currently making a bedroom sign for my son, so Harrison's room, and I'm tracing the letters with the font that I just got from off of eBay. So it's like a sans serif font. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's got a name, but fuck it. And I'm tracing the letters. So, like the letters of Harrison, the H and the A and the R at the start, reasonably good. The R and the I and the S are like shallow.
Right.
And then the O and the N are quite deep. And like, as I say, the H and the A and the R are deep. The others are shallow, and then at the end it goes deep again as well. And I've got to put a DTI on it and track, because I don't know if it's the table that's warped. Because I've tried all sorts of other things. I put a bit of when I picked it up, it came with a huge piece of chipboard where they've slabbed a bit of 5 or 6 mil thick acrylic on top, which I'm guessing was their sort of keeping it flat process. So I'm stuck a bit of brass to that and tried machining that the top of that with the pantograph. And as I say, it's going deep, shallow, deep all the way along it, which is a problem because I want to spray paint it black and then rub it back. But the problem is, as you rub it back, if the letters are too shallow, you wind up basically rubbing the letters away. So
I have something
I've got to figure out.
Matt.
Yeah.
I wondered if you wanted it.
Ooh, what's that? Is that just a block of brass?
It is, yeah.
Ooh.
A lovely block of brass. I bought a job lot of brass, and I specifically picked this one because I thought you might want that. So
Well, saying that I want to have, I mean, I know me and James have spoken about this, but I'd like to have a stab at making a brand, essentially, like a
yeah.
heaty up, stamp a bit of metal, not animals, but metal, stamp a bit of metal, stamp a bit of wood.
So
And,
I bought that. So you can have
thanks.
it next time I send you down a package. I'll shove that in.
That reminds me, I've got to send you up your graphite and your graphite powder and your Mitutoyo depth gauge that I've got, which I'll ping
Excellent.
up as and when.
I've still got your Queen of Lace t-shirt in my car.
Oh, yeah.
in the package. I had it all
It's been a
taped
while.
up, and I had it all taped up and ready to go, and I put it in the back of my car with a bunch of like letters for people who wanted my stickers, and that was like maybe August or something like that, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
it's been a while.
And they're still there waiting to be sent. I've not even bothered my fucking ass, honestly. So like I keep getting messages from people. Oh, I've not got your stickers yet. Oh, it's like yeah, that's because I've kind of not sent them yet.
Well, let's be fair. You've had a pretty turbulent couple of months, really, haven't you? So
Yeah, but that's not
give
an
yourself some
excuse for
credit.
fucking August.
I was trying for it to be an excuse for you, but never mind. You've thrown that one under the bus. It's
yeah,
fine.
I've absolutely fucked it.
Should we get back to
But yeah.
podcast-related things?
Sorry.
Oh yeah.
Haven't
sorry.
you, Pete?
I'm really excited about my block of brass.
Mother's knitting. Go on,
That's all right. I was
over here.
going to ask Matt about the pantograph.
Yes.
I was going to ask
Tell
you
us more.
because
Well,
if you've got that problem of it going deep, shallow, deep, how do you know which part of it is at full? Is it the arm when it travels beyond a certain point? Is it kind of raising up and then going back down, or is it the bed, or is it the stock?
Could be a bent arm.
Yeah, I'm going to have to get. I'm torn. Well, the stock I'm using is particularly thin. It's basically I just thought I went to the local DIY store and there's I've used brass push door. You know the bits of brass plate that you just push against when you're going through a door.
A push plate.
I bought push plate. Thank you. It's been
Was
a long
that from
day.
B&Q?
No, this one came from Clevedon DIY, but.
Oh.
I bought two of them and I started using those. And so it could be. I mean, the first time I started machining it, I was getting like a wave. So as I clamped it, there was almost like as the cutter was traveling over the top of the material, it was actually causing the material to deform. And I thought it was just that. And then I came up with a better way of clamping it. So I was using cheap, nasty carpet. Well, it wasn't particularly good carpet tape, and I did that, and then I still had this problem, and I still assumed it was down to this waviness in the material. But then I then tried it again after cleaning off sticky tape off of the machine bed, which was a stupid mistake. I should never have done that. Yeah, scrubbing it with lighter fuel and everything to try and get all the sticky off. So then
hand sanitizer does it.
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
Yeah, hand sanitizer cleans the sticky off. I've tried that loads of times.
Yeah, it works really well because I use it, me and cakes.
Oh, yeah, where's this going?
Cakes and sticky stuff, lollies and all of that. I get it all over my hands.
Okay. We're learning more about you, Rosie. So it was a case of, I ended up cleaning that all off. And then I had this bit of chipboard, as I said, with the acrylic on top. So I stuck it down on that. And then it is literally, deep, shallow, deep. But then, and this is where the interesting thing is, I ended up thinking, hang on a minute, this piece of metal that I'm using is scrap now because I can't keep rubbing it back and so on. So I thought, knackers to it, I'll just cut a line across and I will see the contact between the cutter and the piece of metal.
Good shout.
Right near the edge of the machine where I was doing it, it was going like deep, and then there was nothing, and then it would dig in on the other side again. I was like, okay, well that's a pain in the ass. And then as I moved the table forward, and then scribing the same line, in the middle or towards the other end of it, if you like, it was not constant, but there was still a variation in depth, but it was not as bad. And then right on the very end, again, it was an improvement again, but still a variation. So I'm going to have to put a DTI on something somewhere and try and figure out where this movement's occurring. But my guess is probably in the linkages.
Yeah,
So I
I'm
might
thinking
have
there's
to,
maybe like gunk or something like that. It's like rolling over, maybe.
Well, when I got it and I bought it, I got it set up in the workshop. I found basically when you get like oil and sawdust mixed together, you get that sort of
Shit.
sludgy, gunky crap. And I think that somebody's used like cut plywood or something, like done designs or something in plywood on it. So I think that is what has happened, and maybe, as you say, it's gunked up somewhere in the linkages. So when you're going past a certain point, it lifts up and then drops back down again. But I don't know. As I say, I'm going to have to attack it with a DTI and probably a whole night of pondering and taking videos and trying to figure out. Because I wonder if you guys do this when you've got a problem at home. In terms of when you've got a problem at home.
You want to talk about that?
When you've got a problem in your workshop, do you sort of take videos of it?
How's your home life, Matt?
Oh, it's just terrible.
What's going on?
You could tell us, Matt.
Is this UK Makers podcast or therapy session? Like literally everyone's like looking at me with their hands on their heads going, "Oh, sympathy session." No, so basically I was just wondering, like, do any of you guys do this? Where if you've got a problem in the workshop specifically, do you take like videos of what it is that's causing the problem, just so that when you're out and about during the day and you're like, oh, could it be that? And then you look at your phone and watch the video back and sort of play through your head if the problem that you've thought of actually transposes to what it is you're looking at and what's occurred at work, at the workshop.
Kinda. I take pictures, not videos.
Yeah, I'm the same.
But kind of, yeah.
I've got a good memory for that sort of shit. I can 3D model.
Yeah, that's why I take photos.
No.
It's interesting you say that, James. The amount of people.
Go on, Matt.
No?
What were you saying?
Well, I was just saying, it's interesting you're saying about 3D modelling things in your head. I've had this a similar conversation with people that I work with, and it's funny how few engineers can't model or
we've spoke about
construct a problem. Well, yeah, because I know, Rosie, for you specifically, you say you haven't had any formal training. I know you have, but in terms of CAD, like CADing, doing using NX or Fusion or anything like that. For myself, when I'm deconstructing something, I can envisage it in my head and see how it goes back together in my head. And on a conversation I had with Rosie going back months now, it turns out that Rosie can do the same thing. And now James saying that to you, and you're saying, no, I can do that. Like envisage breaking down something in your head and then rebuilding it back together. How about you, Gareth? Is that the same for you?
Yeah, totally. I can. That's the worst
crazy
part. That's why I don't need to take video, because I will look at it and analyze it, and then if I can't come up with a solution, what I'll do is I'll walk away, and for the rest of the day, Jules will think there's something wrong with me, and it's not. I'm just trying to figure out the problem in my head, and then at 3 in the morning, when I'm absolutely sleep deprived, my brain will go, "Did you ever think about doing this?" And I think, I fucking didn't. I didn't think about doing that. And then, you get like a mental erection and you're like, this is amazing. And then you can't go to sleep because you've found a solution. But you think at 3 in the morning, I can't go out to the workshop either.
Yeah.
It's frustrating.
Well, you probably could once you got it built. 3 in the morning, you ain't got no neighbours for miles around. You'll be fine.
I'll text myself.
I know, but equally, I think there's a curse.
I kind of see it as remote viewing. Like when I think of something that's in my shed, but I'm in the house, I see it as like kind of remote viewing sort of thing. Do you not? I don't know how
I know what you mean.
Yeah. It's not like I'm a clairvoyant or anything like that, and I can see into the future sort of thing. But I can see.
I don't know about that, Rosie. You said that I'd be out in the wind and rain.
Yeah,
and there you were. I was going to make exactly the same comment then.
Yeah. I thought that was mental though yesterday. Oh, Gareth's probably out with his dogs in the pissing rain and the high winds. And then I messaged him and he was like, "Sorry, I've been out with the dogs in the pissing rain."
It's funny you mentioned
rain
about.
pelting me in the face.
It's funny you mentioned about the being sleep deprived. What with having a little one, obviously getting sleep these days is sometimes not possible. And I wound up redesigning the whole of the upstairs of our house and moving walls. You know, when you just lie there in bed and you can just think, if I move that wall that way, then that will gain us at least 800 mil. And we could put a wardrobe in there, and then if we've got the wardrobe in there, and then that'll make Harrison's room, and if we have a second one, that'll make their bedroom about the same size. And then, of course, we can build a conservatory, and that can be Sarah's office, so that will work out all right. And by the time I wake up in the morning, I'm exhausted because I've already just knocked down 4 walls and built a conservatory.
Yeah,
I don't get the thing with conservatories. I don't get why people like them. I've lived in 2 houses now that had them, and we never used them.
No?
Just like greenhouses are then, or fucking hot as fucking
Exactly.
summer.
They're the fucking
And cold as fucking winter.
Yeah. They're either really hot.
Makes
really
no fucking sense.
I was going to say, that's the thing, isn't it? Because if you're very good at mentally visualizing parts and processes in your head, and it generally tends to be, if you have an idea, you will go to the workshop. You might do a quick sketch or something, but you can go to the workshop and you can pretty much nail every part that you want directly out of the schematics in your head. And then when it comes to like using, and I don't know whether it's like my art background as well, like if I wanted to make something, I will do it with my hands because then I can feel it and I can see it. Mm-hmm. But then when it comes to using 3D software like Fusion, to me, it's frustrating because it's such a, partly because I'm not that great at it, but it's kind of like dissecting the idea piece by piece by piece by piece. And it's a slow and at times really frustrating thing to use because although your fingers are, tapping the keyboard, there's no tactile feedback to the part. There's no it's all right kind of off the top of my head knowing dimensions, but you can't feel it. There's no connection.
It's like 2 things. So I find using CAD software frustrating because and I know it sounds like I'm being such an arrogant prick saying this, but my brain for thinking of something 3-dimensionally and for my work, like when people come out and say, we've got this problem, we've got an issue and we need something made to enable, to get past this problem. Literally, my brain just goes straight into overdrive on it, and I think up through previous experiences of what other people have done for issues that I've seen in the past, and like literally, you piece it all together in your head, and you come up with at least 3 or 4 iterations, and it's reasonably quick for me. I'm like maybe, depending on the application, it can be anywhere between like 5 and maybe 15-20 minutes before I've come up with at least 2 or 3 options that you could use to solve that said problem. And I find using software like CAD ridiculously frustrating because I've already solved the issues, but to then try and, as you say, dissect it and put the dimensions on it and so on, it is so time consuming, ridiculously so. But it's actually quicker for me. I just end up doing like 3-dimensional sketches on usually Post-it notes or whatever bit of scrap paper's lying around the office. I go, this is my idea, try that, and then leave it up to them guys to do the CADing of it all and all that sort of thing. And the other problem I have with CAD is you can lose scale really quickly. So like if you're dealing with something that's, and I mean, for those that have followed my Instagram with the case of when I was remodeling my workshop, I did a version of my workshop, but that workshop on screen is the sizes of the machines and the actual size of my workspace. But when you're swiveling around it, it looks exactly the same size as if you're trying to design something that's maybe 30 mil long. you have no idea of depth or scale because it's just this 3D space that you're spinning around with nothing to compare it to. And I find that, as you say, when you've got no tactile sort of understanding of how things go, it's not so much how things go together, but as you say, like the lack of actually having it in your hand to feel. And sometimes you can make decisions on things through CAD, and you're like, well, that can be smaller because, it can. And then when you actually get it, and you're like, yes, no, that's never going to be strong enough. That's not going to do the job that I want it to. And it's only because once you've got like a copy or a prototype or a 3D print of it in your hand that you're like, well, this needs to go back to the drawing board.
Absolutely.
So,
I'm kind of a little bit different because I think in 3D, but I work with 2D. With fabrication lasers and then press brakes and that type of thing. So I have to think in 3D to then do a full assembly and then dissolve it into a pattern. So I do get where you're coming from, but I find it harder for me sometimes going from 3D and then trying to make it into 2D and then working out how to build something. But that's kind of my job, so I'm pretty good at it now, if you know what I mean. But for years, it took me a long time to think of it in my head, write it down, think of it in my head, and then importantly, think about how it's going to go together, which sometimes is the hardest part for me. But yeah, I agree with what you're saying. But I'm kind of the opposite in a way.
What have you got there, Matt?
Cup of tea.
Sorry, my wonderful wife just bought me a cup of tea and some dinner. I was supposed to put on a tray bake for us. And I got carried away with the podcast, and so therefore didn't put the oven on. Oh, come on, you blame me for all the penis jokes.
Don't know what you mean, mate. Don't know what you mean.
James, it's all your fault.
It is.
Hey, Rosie.
Oh, man.
Did you manage to, have you ever thought about getting back round to using that click spring fire piston? Or is it just like...
I have thought about it, and I have drawings to do it, but obviously I'm having issues currently inside and outside of my shed. But obviously, and when I sort that out, it's certainly up there with something to try out anyway.
Paul listeners are wondering what is said.
It's a piston. It's like to do with it's like it's to start a fire sort of thing.
It's basically using. Yeah, it's pressure and friction, isn't it, that causes it to create a spark in the end. I mean, any click spring video is
and
worth
you can
watching.
start a fire. Oh, it is. It's very interesting, and it's something I would like to try. And I have the drawings for it, so I will definitely give it a go.
Is this the same click spring that does the
everything
Antikythera mechanism?
Yeah, the Antikythera mechanism. Yeah, his stuff is just amazing to watch. I love it.
I like the bluing of the brass. The bluing of the brass is just porn, basically. It's sexy as fuck.
I know you were telling me about how much of a wide on you had with it.
Yes, and I do plan to make a thingy, the brass thingy full of brass shavings at some point to make it. I plan on doing that.
The bluing tray
as well.
Something
and
I was interested
one as well.
Something that I saw that. Oh, sorry, carry on.
No, on you go.
Something I saw when he was making his wife's, was it a wedding anniversary present? And he ended up using I think they call it a rose chuck or a rose lathe,
rose engine.
Where you can. Is it a rose engine where you can actually turn the chuck?
My dream.
Through several gears, and it changes the. I ended up trying to find information about one because I didn't know if you could make one and then run it on a standard lathe, or is it a special machine in its own way? Or
you can make an MDF version. There are plans out there that you can buy, and it's an MDF rose engine, which looks like one day will be a phenomenal project. But yeah, it's like they've been out for absolute yonks, much cleverer people that, you know, thought of this when they had nothing. But yeah, the history of rose engines are beautiful, and they're not an engine; they're effectively a lathe, but for decorative and precision work. That's very popular in.
I thought that would have piqued Matt's interest. Precision work.
I think I sent Rosie a documentary on the history of the Rose engine, didn't I?
Can't remember.
I don't know much of this.
Probably, and I probably never watched it either. I can't remember. I probably never watched it.
What do you know much of the history, Gareth? Because I don't. I should know.
Well, if you send me it again, I'll watch it.
I'd love to know more about.
No,
that.
I can't remember a lot of it, but the documentary was really fascinating because they had one of the early examples of Rose engines, and they were going through the whole history of it and its use, and how, you know, they became more sort of more intricate, more refined as the time as time went on. I can't remember where it is. It's probably in my watch history somewhere on YouTube. But yeah, I'd have to dig it out.
Fuck. That is sexy.
Oh, the
You
very,
finally
very
got those
cold.
photos of me naked.
Dirty bastard.
I know, that bear suit is fantastic, isn't it?
I do.
You said it was a good job you told me that you were naked in those pictures, because I thought you were wearing a golfing jumper.
Pretty much how I do all my video now is just wearing a jumper on top and nothing below.
It's like James when he wears his apron, his canvas apron.
Oh, it's horrific.
He doesn't wear any clothes underneath it.
Oh, God.
Says it hurts his nipples.
I'm sure this apron was about, I don't know, 80 odd quid. Or no, it wasn't as much as I want to spend that. I think it was about, I don't know, 50 odd quid, something like that. Apron. Everyone was wearing aprons at the time. It was a different time. Aprons were in. Aprons were sexy. It was summer. You know, what a better time to buy clothing, thick clothing. So it's this canvas. It's a very, very nice apron. And I got my own badge, you know, embroidered and all that type of thing. And it looks really cool. I've got Union Jack on there. But the canvas is like, I don't know, it's like 80 grit sandpaper on your nipples. I'm not going to go too much into it, but I can't wear it.
Salami tits.
Yeah. So it was like abrading my my nipple area. I don't know what canvas it is. It's so fucking abrasive. So I'll stop wearing it now. There's just 2 red blood stains parallel with my nipple area, and they're just like.
You sure one's not higher than the other?
Yeah, no, drip stains. You know, it looks like, you know, it's like I've been shot
It's like
precisionally.
I was just going to say, it's like you
Shot
need
in
an
the
exorcism because you're lactating blood or something like that.
Yeah, I'm the blood lactator.
There'll be a movie about that soon.
But no, it was like
James is lactating blood from his nips. Salami tits.
I have no.
But James, you've got.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Oh no,
No,
sorry,
I'm
I was
just-
just going to say you've got.
Go on.
Oh fuck, Gareth, you go. I'm done. Forever. I quit.
No, it's all right. I was just going to say you've got all these leatherworking machines now and stuff like that. You should be able to make yourself a proper decent apron.
This is why the conversation arose, because I was thinking about making a leather apron.
You should just cut out where these bloody stains are on your normal one. Just 2 little leather nipples. Little nipples. Put tassels on them.
Oh, yeah.
No one will mind.
Yeah.
People dig that sort of shit now.
Yeah. What
That would look fucking quality. Shite bag if you didn't.
What I was going to say is a lot of people buy aprons, and I jumped on the apron thing. So I bought one thinking it was going to be great and I'd wear it to bed and everything.
Me too.
And I just fucking hate it. Nothing's where you want it. You end up filling it full of shit. And especially when you wood turning, you put your hand in and it's full of like cellulose, bloody everything congealed crap and sawdust. And then it's like, you know, you've got your scribe in there that you've lost for 6 years, and then you manage to find it. I don't know. And then it's when you move in and it pulls on you, and then it's heavy on your shoulders, and then it cuts in and it rubs me tits really aggressively. My one. So, and I'm not the only one, because I put this on my Instagram, and I had a lot of people saying, "Yeah, I've got an apron, it's in the corner," and I never fucking use it. So,
yeah, I don't use mine. I got mine dirty, and now I don't want to wear it. So,
because it's dirty.
What did you get? No, actually, I was going to ask how you got it dirty, but let's.
Angle grinding. I was angle grinding a toolbox. It got really dirty with like paint and stuff, and now I don't want to wear it because it's dirty. So
you want to buy machines covered in rust, but you won't wear a dirty apron.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it's probably like got like some damp mold on it now because it's been out in the shed and it's pretty damp in there. So I think I need a new one. I was wanting a boiler suit for going out in the shed, but I probably won't put that on either because they're a pain in the ass, especially if I need a piss.
Yeah, boiler suits are naff. I used to work in a place where you had to wear a boiler suit, and during the summer it's just hot and horrible. And then,
What do you think I feel? 4 days a week I'm at college, and every single day I'm in the workshop wearing a fucking boiler suit, and I drink loads of coffee and loads of water. I need to fucking take that thing on and off.
I need a fucking wee.
Pretty much, they should have a flap or something to like undo.
Well, like Long Johns, where you just unbutton the bum.
Yeah, something like that, and so it'll be easier.
Be handy, that.
Especially for me.
That would be handy. When I did my apprenticeship, when you know that you passed your apprenticeship, you got given your engineer's blue overall. And like the people who've been with the company for 40 years had white, because traditionally engineering and machinists wore white schmucks, like the proper, I don't know what we call them. We call them like jackets. They're quite heavy, canvassy kind of heavy cotton.
Like lab coats.
Yeah, lab coats, but they were white. So if you're a machinist, you had white, or if you're in the welder fabricators, you had blue. I don't know why. But the old boys had been there since God were a lad. They used to wear the white ones, and some of them have still got the original ones, and they were just fucking disgusting. Like the armpit was like, oh, my armpit's actually.
You've ripped your armpit.
You know what? The Primark, and they all have done this. Yeah, I've got a hole in it. This is the... Babe, I thought you chopped this. So anyway.
Matt's gone. He's lost it. He's put his head in his pasta now.
I forgot. This is where my nipple is. Oh. That's gone. Oh, you know what? My missus said this the other day. Oh, I need to trip that one. There's a hole in it. Oh. It looks like a bush as I get it out. It's like a shrubbery. Yeah, so my armpit, my t-shirt has a hole in it. And what I was saying is the old boys' white schmucks in engineering was covered in like congealed coolant and ingrained bits of swarf. It was fucking disgusting.
And something to do with an arm?
Yeah, like mine. Yeah, so they're all like
sweat stains.
Horrifically dirty. These masks. That's definitely gone. Oh. The windbag. You're like a burst bagpipe. You are, Matt. You just make a. Oh, Gareth, save the show. You're the special guest. Be the special one.
Well, the only way I can top that is by getting my cock out. But
we should start doing an after show where we all get our bits out. Show and tell. Like what
it's not worth it, trust me.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
I just put you all to shame. My dick's down at my ankle.
Unfortunately, I had when I was a toddler, my cock looked pretty big, but as I've got older, it stayed toddler size.
Why does this podcast always end up talking about penis jokes?
Penis
I hate
jokes.
penis jokes. I hate
You love penis jokes.
hate them. Hate them. Matt, you've
You
done
love
this
penis.
again. Right.
Yeah, it's your fault, man.
Yellow card. Gareth, would you like to be a full-time
I
guest?
was even on mute eating my pasta, and I still apparently am being accused of this.
Matt, we're replacing you with Gareth now.
It's an upgrade. It's a definite
It is.
upgrade.
We can talk more
Oh,
wood
it's
stuff.
definitely not.
Well, I'm going
James,
to
you
say...
can talk about your wood till the cows come home.
I am going to say we're now 1 hour and 5 minutes into this episode, so we've gone over our usual timescale of everything. So are we okay to round up the gathering of this episode?
Yeah,
We've all got nods.
Yeah.
We've all got nods. So this has been the UK Makers podcast. A very special thanks to Gareth from Pippi's Woodforge. We will leave the description and where to find the page of Gareth at Pippi's Woodforge down in the description. And thank you, everybody, so much for last week's submissions of questions. We have already formulated another cocktail of more questions to come in a later episode. So if you would like to ask any more questions, then please do so in the comment section below. With that in mind, we have been James, Matt, Rosie, and Gareth. We would like to thank you for this week's episode, and we will see you in the next one. Thank you.
Cheers.